this section of boots in the field, which would be more like boots in the truck, give you a crop report of what we saw as we traveled out to western New York to speak to the New York corn growers here this past week. Traveling through the northern part up along the lakes and then coming back down through the central part of Indiana and Ohio on our way back. And as we traveled out, northern Indiana definitely looked the toughest. The garden spot for corn is right here in central Illinois. Northern Indiana had a lot of early season water damage and look like they're kind of tight on water right now, just like we are here in the northern part of the state. Central Indiana looked quite a bit better, less water damage, not quite as evident that they're running out of moisture, but they are, you can tell they're tight on moisture, and especially the sandier soils. Northern and central Ohio stands look really good, crop looks strong, but again, you can tell that they are getting squeezed on the water. I think as you look at it, it's probably taken a somewhat record crop and moving it back to above average or average crop from a corn perspective. Out in Pennsylvania and New York, the corn looked fantastic. The only problem is it was late. Looked like there's 2 planting windows. Early season would be the first 2 weeks in May, and the later was the first 2 weeks in June. The early season corn is going to make, but the stuff in June that we were in was just pollinating, so it's 60 days out. Probably is not going to make it. Talking to the farmers, it looked like they had enough early season corn planted to meet their grain needs, and all the late season was going to be harvested for silage out there due to the late planting itself. In general, if I look at the corn crop on this trip out and back and what I've seen in Iowa and Wisconsin, I would say it's still a record-setting crop, but it is going to be late, and it's going to be late across the country to get it out. From the soybeans, a little bit different there. I saw an awful lot of soybeans that in wide rows that is not going to close the rows. They're pretty much done growing, and the weeds are breaking through everywhere. So it's going to be a little bit tough to keep the weeds under control. We definitely saw signs of white mold as we traveled through the north, and the sudden death is definitely cranking up coming through the southern part on our trip back. And you can see this even from the pickup itself. I think the bean crop in general has moved from an above average bean crop here in the last 10 days to an average crop. Still a lot of beans out there, but I think we're taking the top off of it. With that said, though, it's our 5th year traveling to the Finger Lakes for vacation and work, and there's a noticeable uptick in the bean acres out there. I assume it's probably due to the late planting and the market together. But it is a significant more amount of bean acres out there than what we're used to seeing itself. With that, I think it's across the board. Again, it's a pretty big crop. I think the corn crop is still big. The bean crop, I'm not so confident in anymore. So hope that helps you. Talk to you next week.